welcome back to part 2 of the Author's Prompt and Plotted podcast on the Paranormal Fantasy episode. We're going to continue right on now and pick up where we left off at the end of episode 1 at the start of Act 2. Thank you.
So the hunter, do we want to make it so easy to kill the hunter, or do we want to have a little bit of resistance? I know the main character needs to be...
I've got no objection to them having throwing hands and everything when they do it, because Damien isn't as big as him, but he's got more strength because he's half dragon. He's a dragon shifter.
Yeah.
So have them throw down and sort of knock a few buildings over as they're throwing each other through them. It's only when the ice-tipped arrow comes out that he transforms.
So when you mentioned that he lost 2 women before, I was thinking along the lines of the hunter being the one who killed them. So there's a rivalry.
What I meant with that is, he's lived for 3,000 years. He's lost 2 women just because they passed away. It took him 1,000 years to get over his first wife, and 600 years to get over his second. I just wanted it to be a bit of tragedy for him and deepen his character. He is capable of love. He's just not there right yet. You know what I mean? It's it hurt him.
Yeah.
This is leaning a bit towards shifter romance fantasy right now, but it's still the same thing, right? We're not going so deep into it, yeah?
Yeah.
So, we are going on to level 2, which is the second half of the show. So, Patrick, it's back to you, buddy.
Alright, trying to decide which one I want to do, because I have a bit about the bad guy, start exploring, or B story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting on something. Can I jump a little bit?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
I'll take start exploring.
Okay.
And he has a dragon lair up in the steaming areas of Iceland, and they're starting to get snowpacked, and it's beautiful where he takes her. A little romantic. Mm-hmm. She's feeling the vibe, okay?
Volcano.
He's not feeling the vibe. Yeah, hot springs in the cave. Very nice setup. He's got the fur rugs. This is 90s cliche setup a little bit. I'm sorry, I've got to have a little bit of comic relief here. Okay. But he's not feeling it. This is just something he's set up for himself because he has to go Dragon Lair escape. And she's like, dude, this is nice. I've been staying in this terrible hotel. You should put up a B&B up here. This is really nice. But at the same time, she's like, wait, you're a freaking dragon. We've got to have some conversation. We need to talk, bruh. Yeah. How long you been here? Cause she's seeing some things in this place, she keeps calling it Viking memorabilia. Yeah. It's not memorabilia, Mm-hmm. And, okay, there's the environment. Take it away, Patrick.
Do you want me to build off of that or hit one of the other points?
Build.
Alright, so, as they kind of are settling in, it's obvious in his dragon form, when he gets back to human, he needs to cover himself up. And he's scoping him out and what do you do for a living? Besides rescue women out at sea? I rescue women who are stupid enough to go out in a storm out at sea. And he kind of gets sassy with her because he's really he likes her, but he's put off that, multiple times now he's already had to save her butt.
Yeah.
And he's like, You got a mouth on you. You look cute, but you got a mouth on you, and you keep getting in trouble. How much more trouble am I going to have to put up with? Because as the year progresses, my power is going to wane, and I don't know if I'm going to have enough strength to keep keeping you safe. And she was like, "What do you mean by that?" And he goes off and he explains to her at the bar, that old woman, I saved her. It was my task to save her. I am the summer dragon. The winter dragon is my enemy. And we battle it every year in a constant cycle. And that's where the explanation of the solstice, about the power waning and yang, basically, of the weather and the year. And she kind of was like put back. She's like, and she's looking at him. He's like, "What are you looking for?" Something to write this down. This is a story. I want to tell the story. And he puts his hand down, and he basically starts her paper on fire with the heat radiating off his body, and saying, "This is a story that goes untold."
Okay. I'd love it to say at this point in the story, when he's saying that, he's like, she's like, "This is all this Viking memorabilia and everything like that." He's like, and she's like, "What's this?" And he says, "It's from my first life." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I took it from a Roman soldier."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, how did you become a dragon?" And he's like, like, we're doing this exposition and everything. So it is like an interview she's doing with him, but the story goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But if he says I was born on the I was born in on the shores of Ireland 3,000 years ago. He says, and I made the mistake of making a deal with the Fae. And in one night I was transformed. I've been alive ever since. Like Dead Haunting, he goes like that. I have been alive ever since. So if that bit got added into the exposition that you're talking about, I think it'd be really powerful. What section are we on, by the way? What episode are you using for this?
Start exploring.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're in Start Exploring, and maybe what you're talking about is we're like hitting on B story, which is like pseudo backstory.
I think this is still Start Exploring because we're exploring his life. We might not be exploring the environment, we're exploring his life. Like, what if she says, "So how did you find this cave?" And he says, "This is the point. This is the place where me and my wife would come and make love. This is his home. This is his romantic lair."
I'm against that. I am against that, sir.
You
You don't take your new chick to your new place.
It was a long time ago. But by
exploring the cave and exploring the artifacts, or as she sees it as the artifacts of what's lined in this cave, you are exploring his life. So it's a duo.
Yeah. It's like, if he said this cave is... Okay, while we're exploring, let's explore each other's bodies, okay? Let's talk to the 500-pound gorilla in the room, alright? He's talking to her and he says, "I brought my wife here." He says, "And this is the only place I know to keep you safe. This is where I kept her safe during the raids." Because he was a Viking, right? "This is where I kept her safe in the raids. This is the place I saved her when our village was burned." He says, "I brought you here as just to appease MK's thing. I brought you here because I know it was safe, but this will forever be my wife and I's home.
Thank you.
Okay? And he steps out of the cave, and she steps out of the cave behind him. So they're on the side of this mountain, and the volcanoes are sort of like on the horizon and everything. And he tells her about his first wife, and she says, "Is that why you're so cold?" And he turns to her and he says, "I'm not so cold because I have love. I'm so cold because I fear love." And she touches the side of his face, and he leans in, kisses her, and much saliva and bodily fluids are exchanged. DNA
But playing
all,
on that,
DNA all over the place. Yes.
it's not just that he fears love. He fears a love that he can that's not eternal. He fears a love that he can never completely have.
How about the one time he left his wife alone, she got unalived, and he says, "I can't lose love again."
Exactly.
To someone I can't protect. Now we've got a deep, wounded man who isn't an asshole. Which is what romance sadly lacks, right? If you're a wounded man, you have to be a complete and utter asshole. Let's kill that trope and turn it on his head. He's a really nice man. And she doesn't
Well,
want
I mean,
to
he
fix him.
starts off very broody, very asshole-ish, but there's a reason for it, unlike all the other ones that are just like complete assholes all the way through.
Yeah, but you also got to remember the story starts out with him being broody because he's in a touristy city. He has all these people tromping all over his land that he's lived on for 3,000 years, and they all treat it like it's touristy. And he's like, "No, this is my home.
Yeah.
That place that you're going to go look at, that rubble, that square that's in the ground, that was the foundation of a building. That used to be something to me. I used to go there every night to have parties or whatever."
Wouldn't
But
it be
he's
funny
broody because
if somebody came up to him in that early scene with Viking hats on, with the horns on, which Viking hats never had, and they're like, "Could you take our picture and offer him a phone?" And he goes, "No," and just carries on walking past him. You know, like that, because that's not assholey. His culture is being trampled on. That's
hence
understandable
why he's
annoyance.
broody.
Yeah.
It gives him another layer of why he's broody versus just the fact that he's 3,000 years old and he's just broody. So it actually gives him that reason.
Last time he got laid.
What was that about getting laid?
He's 3,000 years old, and when was the last time he got laid? Of course he's going to be broody.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, nobody said that he didn't have a female companion from time to time. They just said he didn't have love.
no.
That doesn't mean he doesn't hook up with a tourist every now and again.
No, he's a traditional guy. He loved this woman. It took 700 years to get over her.
Exactly. Monty and I are good men. Good. We're not
we're
trash
good men. Yeah. Mm. And he's gay and I'm straight, so it's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't make me break out my crown.
Okay, so MK, it's on to you.
Sorry, I just had to get my children to stop playing the spoons next door, so I managed to just before you came back to me. A bit about the bad guy or B story. What were we discussing as potential B stories? I need a little refresher.
We've covered
the story about I believe the B story was going to be a bit more about the Fae Prince or the Hunter.
Yeah, but the Hunter's brown bread now.
Mm-hmm.
So some more about the Prince. Let's go to Fae. That's a potential.
Yeah. I think that's what we should. But that could be either a bit about the bad guy and the B story. So it could be a 2-in-1.
Or it could be an extension of one onto the other. It's up to it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
See where you go, and then if someone's got anything to add to it, that's the beast.
Okay. Bjorn is called back to his court. He is in trouble because he made really ridiculous promises that he could manage to pin down the beasts within a season. And the winter dragon is more difficult for Bjorn to even go up against. And so he was actually hoping to work with the summer dragon to pin down the winter dragon. And here he is. Yeah.
Can I throw something in here? Can we learn a bit more about the villain, which is Bjorn, and the B story is the winter dragon and the summer dragon's history? Just throwing it out there.
I don't know. We'll see how my brain works.
Okay.
I like that answer.
I'm for it. I'm for it. We'll see how my brain works.
Yeah, well, the B story is going to be on. The B story is probably going to be on Beatrice or Judith, because you're doing a bit about the villain, right?
Beatrice, did you have your hand up? You're muted.
You're muted, love.
I just heard something really weird in my house, so I was just wondering what it was.
So Bjorn is going back to the court kind of in shame, and he has to face his mother, who has been the main ruler of the court, and she is calling him into the entire court to answer for the fact that he does not have the beasts in his power, in his control, and he needs to answer for the fact that he doesn't even have the summer dragon working with him yet. And he is the villain, but he is also, we don't know yet why he really wants control of these dragons. What is the motivation behind this ultimate control? Which court are we going to? I say this is the summer court. And he is going to the summer court. And ultimately, his mother really wants to wage war on the winter court by the high
The equinox.
The
equinox.
By the well, not the equinox, because we're at the equinox, right?
Yeah, we're just before it, because Patrick established he's only going to get weaker from here.
Okay, then she wanted to go to war, not necessarily when the summer dragon was at its weakest, but when the winter dragon was starting his decline. So she wanted to know, where are we, so that we can fortify the dragon. And she's got all these plans that we're going to help the dragon be stronger. But at one bad thing is it could wind up killing the summer dragon, Damien. Bjorn, he's come to the court and he has to discuss why he has not accomplished this. I'm sorry. My kids just made a noise and it kind of just deleted my files here. He hates his mother. He also wants to potentially usurp his mother. Okay. There's my contribution. Who wants to take B story?
it's Beatrice's turn. You're stuck with it, Beatrice.
Yay! I was actually just thinking about, I want to talk about the winter dragon
Yes, thank you. Let's
because
bring this guy
we
into the
have
story.
not even touched on him yet.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is cliche or not, but what if the winter dragon was actually the summer dragon's best friend before they both got turned? Because he wasn't alone that night.
That's trope, not cliche. That works with the story, so it's trope, not cliche. If they escape
Okay.
together, yeah.
Um,
If they were
yes.
sort of like if they were best friends and they drifted apart over a woman, yeah, that's cliche. But
Yes. Yeah. No, they were best friends and they fought together and they supported each other. And then after maybe when he turned, the winter dragon turned, it was because he's more powerful, it mangled his mind. So that's why the summer dragon hasn't really killed him because he still loves his best friend. He just fends him off. So I was thinking about adding that because, or we could just, make him a different kind of character. I'm not sure. That's where I was going.
No, I love that. I love
Leave
that.
that right where that's at.
right where that's at.
Because I got something I can add on to that. It's like
Go.
I've
Okay.
got some. Before you go on, is there a way that we can use the winter dragon's insanity to come from something that is on Iceland, like the volcanoes or the hot spring, drinking from the hot springs, because he's only supposed to drink cold water or ice? Is there some way that we can
The
tie
Northern Lights.
Iceland, Northern Lights? Yeah. Is there a way that we can tie Iceland?
I don't.
that's where I was going with this.
Maybe.
Okay, you go, Julie.
That's where I was going with this. It's like no, wait, leave that right there. When they were turned, the reason that his best friend, his mind went, was because of the fact that he didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, he just started going, and it's the magnetic force that is surrounded by the polar ice caps. And with him being the winter dragon, does not understand when it comes to it's their first season. So one is more powerful than the other at that time, and he's trying to force the power. And it's the magnetic force of their season that puts the next one in power. Instead of playing off each other and keeping each other safe during their season and helping each other out, one's trying to force the power. Because his friend can do it, why can't he do it? And it's the magnetic force that starts turning his brain.
Where's this magnetic force coming from?
The polar ice caps.
So the magnetic north, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. And the magnetic north being...
Why is it not affecting the summer dragon?
Because the summer dragon understands why he's doing it, and he doesn't try to force his power. Best friends always compete with each other. Yes, they keep each other safe, but there's always that competition between each other.
So this could work with my idea of the summer court forcing him to work with them. They know that will force his power. It might make him go a little crazy.
But that's what they're banking on.
Yeah.
That's a reason that they don't care if he ends up perishing in the fight. Also, that's another reason that he kidnaps the girls. He's not in his right mind. That's the reason that the Winter Dragon kidnaps the girls.
Or he just was one of those Vikings who enjoyed the pillaging aspect of his career.
Well, you always had one friend that was like that.
Every family's got one.
Or I had an...
Manho.
So instead of like him just being crazy and taking girls, maybe he's searching for something so he can get out of his dragon form permanently.
The winter dragon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perhaps he's trying to turn someone else.
To pass the power so he doesn't have to carry it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have an heir. Have an heir.
Exactly. Have them or have the Winter Court tell this dragon that the only way out of it is if he produces a male heir. So he's kidnapping girls between a certain age group to try to mate with them to produce a male heir. And that's the reason he kidnaps the girls. A dragon
breeder series. Oh my gosh.
I like that, but I also don't like casting him in a like horrible evil light because I believe there's good and villains as well. I like anti-heroes.
Playing off the magnetic.
So it's hard for me.
Yeah, playing off the magnetic thing. Northern lights are caused by magnetic forces in the atmosphere. So why don't we stay away from the pole and say it was the northern lights which sent him kind of a little scatterbrained. He does need an heir, but he takes these women and he explains to them in his dragon form what the problem is and why he needs them. And there's like an inner rage in him. Maybe these girls aren't disappearing and ending up brown bread. Maybe they're just being taken somewhere else and left somewhere with amnesia because he has a dragon power to do that.
Maybe he only has daughters under a mountain somewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe the courts come in and kidnap the women from him after he's done the deed to try to produce a male heir. And that just what keeps feeding his rage to keep the crazy thing going. They keep taking the women from him, and he's like, I can't get a kid, I can't get an heir because all my women keep disappearing. Like I keep taking more.
In Viking and Celtic mythology,
Winter Court.
I was just gonna say, in Celtic and Viking mythology, fairies used to steal babies and replace them with a fae baby. Maybe they're taking his children.
There we go.
So that would be the Winter Court doing this because the Summer Court is still busy trying to pin all these dragons down.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly, but the whole thing is now you have a bunch of dragonborn females, and what they're trying to do is create their own army. But in turn, they're still trying to produce a male because a male has to be able to still fertilize a female's eggs.
The Winter
Rain of
side
Fire
has an army of female dragonborns.
Fam.
Oh.
Yep. Badasses. They are like shield maidens. Go on, Beatrice. Sorry.
I was gonna say I really love that. And like, what if he's not stealing the women? What if they are purely stealing the women and blaming it on him?
They're stealing the women, offering it up to him with the promise that once he produces a male heir, that his power will shift and he can go back to human. And in the process, there you go.
I'm calling. We've already laid out the grounds with the lady in the bar saying that she's been taken by the bad dragon.
Bad one, yeah.
So
no, we can't go that. We can't go back on it.
Let's twist it. Let's twist it though, and say maybe he doesn't have the most nefarious purposes like the summer dragon thought. And well, I mean, it does still sound a bit grapey. You know, it doesn't sound very consensual. It sounds very non-con here, but like it's not burnt bread. So maybe after they've gotten pregnant, the Winter Court steals both mother and unborn child, and in the other realm, in the Winter realm, they are creating an army.
I would like to find a way that maybe he explains it to them so it's not. He doesn't go full Stockholm syndrome. He explains it and says, I have explained my case to you and you may leave at any time. And one or two of them sort of like get to know him and build a relationship with him. They do have children with him and they are taken by the Fae Court. The ones who leave are tracked by the hunter because they have the scent of the dragon on them. It was the hunter that was unaliving him.
There we go. I like that.
And then the one that she was rescued by, or when she said she was taken and there's worse things out there, she doesn't. It's not that she remembers the winter dragon actually hurting her, but it was actually the hunter that was hurting them, and she's just got those memories so twisted in her head because of what had happened.
We could do that really.
Jogging back to Beatrice's desire for the hunter having killed our summer dragon Damien's past loves, wives. These women could have created dragonborns too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because they would have the scent of the dragon, hypothetically, they could be killed by the hunters too from a Fae court.
And what if
any Fae court?
Yeah. What if the woman in the bar? It's a twist. Let's do a really cool plot twist here, right? Let's say she said she was taken by the bad dragon, but she was brought back by the good dragon, right? Because that's the way she sees it in her head. But what if the amnesia said, if the dark dragon, let's say the dark dragon and the light dragon, because of the time of year they exist. Let's say the dark dragon says, I took her, she can't bear children. That's why she's an old woman living in the bar on her own. She could never bear children. She's like broken down by that. And when he knows that she can't bear children, he says she'll stand no chance of life if the Fae track her if she can't produce a child. And the summer dragon is the one who takes her back.
I think the fact that, I mean, I like what you're saying, but the way that we introduce the character, it doesn't allow for much of the exposition or the explanation.
Yeah.
It could be a side story, like the story of the poor barmaid.
That's what we're on. We're on B story.
Well.
Right.
It just feels out of place. To me, if I all of a sudden was reading this story and I heard about her, I just would feel like, why are we back here? Why are we back to this woman?
No, but the woman was found with the neck broken. The hunter did it. He picked up the scent of the dragon on her.
Even that many years later?
I don't know. Perhaps
yes,
it doesn't work.
The Fae live for a long time.
Yeah.
But Damien was just there, so he's smelling he was hunting Damien, and he's like, wait, this is the woman I was tracking. And she's the one that got away. She's the reason why I got punished. I won't fail my queen again. And snaps her neck.
I mean, don't go into it in too much depth, but just sort of like, he just mentions the one you took back. You know, like while they're having their fight, and then that gives us clarity to that story, and it opens up the B story of explaining the story between the two dragons, and that's why it happened, you know?
So, I have something else. If the winter dragon's goal is to become human again, why has the summer dragon not yet?
Because of the cost.
I have that question.
Because of the cost. The winter dragon is willing to take the cost of finding potential wives and producing an heir. The summer dragon will not put that on an heir. He sees it as a curse that he has to live with for eternity. And if an heir presents itself, it will be in battle. Whereas the Winter Dragon just is so desperate to get out, he will do it. Perhaps he's older. Perhaps he's like 10,000 years older than the Summer Dragon. He's worn out. He's tired. He knows the end's coming soon for him.
Perhaps, I have an interjection.
Yes.
Perhaps he has already tried. You know, you've mentioned that he's fallen in love 3 times, and he fell in love twice when he was human, and then he fell in love a 3rd time when he was a dragon. And that 3rd time,
they took his child.
It did not go well. Yeah, it did not go well, and he does not want to go down that road again.
They killed his wife and took his child. I have to move this story along, so is that the B story?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so what's next? Because it's Julie.
Well, we've technically covered everything. A bit about the bad guy.
Level 5. Level 5.
Yeah, level 5.
We're closing in on the end.
Okay, so we have the first test, the first stumble, the story, a team is forming the second test. Okay, so the first test is what I'm going to take.
Okay.
And the first test is actually put toward Sarah.
Okay.
Going back to the Summer Dragon and Sarah. And the first test is for her to basically be able to keep her mouth shut. Because he can't release her because she's a liability and they're looking for her.
Yeah.
And in the same process, he still has to reappear as a human. He's still got to go to work. He's still got to go and do everything. So the test being that she has to stay where she is and not wander off. And not try to come down this mountain.
The perspective of an overbearing guardian and an overzealous jailer is only different in the eyes of the person doing the captiving.
Exactly.
I just made that up.
But it works. It's right here. And as that, he tells her, look, now that you know what I am, and while I can never let you tell the story until I can secure your safety, you have to stay here. Yes, I have to go and go back down to the village, because if I don't show up, people are going to start asking more questions. It's nothing if a tourist leaves, but it's something if I don't show up for work, because he's part of the Coast Guard. He's part of everything that's going on, and there's storm after storm rolling in. The only problem is she's going to fail the first test. Because he's going to be gone for about a day or two, and she's going to get bored or worried or whatever, and she's going to be like, it can't be that bad. And she's going to start trying to make her way down the mountain.
Maybe he doesn't come back when he says.
Exactly. And he says he's going to only be gone about 3 days. You know, there's plenty of food here. There's plenty of everything. You know, you just do what you have to do, and I'll be back. 3 days go by. He doesn't show back up. So now she's either worried that something's happened to him, or he has no intention of ever returning. And she starts going down the mountain. But when she gets finally about 3/4 of the way down the mountain, she's met by another hunter. Because they finally tracked the scent to this particular mountain. And they think the way to lure him out is by taking her.
Sorry, I'm just sitting on that. Did you hear any of that, Monty?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you hear us?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. There was something happening in the background that I needed to attend to. What? Just a few bullet points.
He said, or he basically tells her straight up that she's in danger. He can't secure her safety unless she stays here. He says he'll be only gone 3 days. There's plenty of food, everything like that. You stay here. I'll be back. He doesn't show back up. So she thinks either something's happened to him or he has no intention of coming back, and she starts down the mountain. She gets about 3/4 of the way down the mountain, and another hunter is trying to come up the mountain because they traced his scent to the mountain. And now it's come to the realization that they're not going to hurt her. They're going to take her because this is the best way to lure him out. Because nobody knows what he's like or what he looks like in his human form.
So my first interjection, but not argument, but my first like addition to this is this girl does not know how to take care of herself in a mountain with like what is there a fridge? Is there a microwave? Is there a stove? Like where's the takeout? Who's cooking for her? I mean, come on, this girl does not know how to use a Vikings, pot and no. This girl's not gonna like when he says there's plenty of food for his Viking era like levels of understanding of things. Not for her. She's hungry. So she's failing this test because she wants to go have fast food. She's hungry. This girl is like, I need an Uber.
I need DoorDash.
I need some Uber. I need DoorDash.
Well, there could be a mix of the two. She stays there, and she's like, I can't eat any more cold food.
I can't eat any more jerky.
Yeah.
I can't eat any more cold Spam.
Yeah, like,
Can't eat any more lox.
Yeah, and
heck no.
She might be able to do a few things like cook scrambled eggs over a fire. I mean, like, how hard's that? But
you gotta be able to make the fire.
You gotta be able to, well, flick your bick. But
it's not that easy, Monty, for a girl that's never done it.
No, it's not. Besides that, he wouldn't need to flick his bick. He'd just go, wouldn't he? You want a fire? He could leave a fire burning and fuel for her, but if she doesn't know how to cook on it, you know what I mean? There's warmth, but it's not something she knows.
So
a combination of the two.
So I was just gonna interject too. I'm sorry. I don't know if I like making her this helpless person. I think that she has more to her than that.
I
think that
I'm gonna bounce off with her. I'm gonna bounce off with you. I think part of her I'm an independent woman, I'm a strong person is in that. She's from this world, he's from that world. I don't see her as helpless. I think I see her as she's not modern. From that world.
She's modern, he's old school. He knows how to start fires and cook over open flames and everything like that. She knows how to use a microwave, which he probably doesn't.
I don't see her as weak in any sense of the word. I see her as stubborn, strong-minded.
That's the reason she goes down the mountain.
Yeah.
Can I offer a compromise?
That's just my perspective.
Can I offer a compromise? She's living in a cave. Right? It's a cave. She feels uncomfortable living in this cave because that's That's his love nest that he had with his previous wife. She's uncomfortable there for a start. There's mice coming in at the middle of the night. You know, she, I've seen many a strong, independent woman standing on a chair when a mouse comes in the room. I've seen many a strong, independent-minded man jump on a chair when a mouse comes in the room. There's one sitting here and looks a lot like me.
My husband.
You know, she's living in this place, so while she's cooking and everything, and she's bored out of her head, she's got no social media. You know, all the books are written in Icelandic that he has. She's bored out of her wits. So 3 days.
There's no TV.
So it's been 3 days. She's living on this food and everything. Maybe the fire dies in the night. She falls asleep, and the fire dies. She doesn't know how to cook a fire. It's gonna get cold. Then she goes down the hill because he hasn't been back in 3 days. You can always turn the plot to make her a strong woman, but at the same time show her in a different light by saying, okay, when she said you can leave me here, the circumstances were very different to what they were 3 days later. She had a fire.
Yeah.
She was able to cook. And she was excited still. 3 days in solitude, you are bored. And you are feeling like, well, I've been deserted here. And, like...
Something could have happened to him.
Did I just get ghosted by a motherfucking dragon? Right?
Yeah, like, I could see there being a huge risk with her staying there.
Yeah.
You know?
Forget Puff the Magic Dragon. This is Poof Begone Dragon.
Yeah. This isn't Anna Lee.
I mean,
See,
there's so many ways that somebody could take that and run with it.
Yeah.
That in no way does it make her helpless and like, oh, woe is me. It's I can't stay here any longer. I need to know what's going on, and I have no way of contacting said dragon that's on the ground. And so, he's been gone for 4 days.
Let me put this out to you, because we are outlining here and we are writer's rooming. At this point in the story, we know we can find a reason for her to leave. It's plausible to the plot. It works with the plot. It's a device to put her on the mountain and spotting the hunter coming. Right? So we can think of all the reasons and concentrate on why she's a character, because we all agree there's plenty of reason for her to leave.
So does the hunter spot her, or does she spot the hunter?
It's kind of a simultaneous thing. Because she sees somebody coming up the mountain, and she thinks that maybe it's him in his human form versus him coming up as a dragon. Because she's not sure how many times he actually turns dragon. And as she's getting closer is when she realizes that's not him.
So what does she do?
Can I throw something into the mix here? When she gets closer, he turns into a hawk when he spots her and starts laughing. The hawk, the hunter. He's a hunter hawk. Let's make it paranormal, right? He's stepping out of his human form, and he turns into a hawk or some creature like that. Yeah.
Why does he turn into a hawk and he doesn't take her or kill her?
No,
or
like
he is going to take her.
This is when he gives chase. He turns to his hawk form to terrify her.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. He realizes that the only way to draw him out and to know exactly what he looks like, because the only hunter that knew what he looked like was the hunter that just got turned into brown bread. Nobody's ever been able to collaborate on what he looks like as a human. All they know what the dragon looks like. So as such, they figure by taking her, they'll lure him out.
So do they get her?
Yeah, I leave that up to somebody else.
No, it's the first stumble. Of course they get her. It's a stumble. Yeah. Right? It's a stumble.
Well, it was the first... well, technically, it's the first test into the first stumble. So if somebody wants to...
Okay. I'll take the first stumble because it's my turn. She's running after the hawk. Remember, when she was taken, she was in her city clothes, right? She's not wearing the clothes that are suitable for running up a Icelandic mountain. I mean, it's scree slopes, it's lava flows, it's mud, it's cold. So she's running. All she's got is a winter coat. You know, the winter coat she had, and she's probably wearing yoga pants and flannel shirt. You know, she's a city girl. What else do you hang out in? You know, and a pair of sneaks. This is what she's trying to run away from this guy in. And this guy's a hawk who's like, for every step, every 5 steps she runs, he leaps one in every single bound. She's not gonna get far. And
Well, I want to build off of that. Hold on, Monty. Because when we last left them, is when he shoved her in that building to fight the Fae. She was wearing his clothes.
no, she
Wasn't
got
she?
No, she
Yeah.
because
Calm down,
remember
Julie.
She changed.
So calm down on that one, Julie.
Sorry, okay.
No,
She
you will not have an
changed
extra
because of
cookie.
the laundry.
Yeah, she changed because of the laundry. So,
And the weirdo said, "I smell a scale."
yeah, the maid was actually a Fey maid
Okay.
who was looking
Because
for
there was so
you.
much going on, I kind of lost where she
Yeah.
was at and what she was wearing.
Yeah, but she was definitely wearing her own clothes at that point. Because remember, the maid says, "I'll see they get back to him."
Oh yeah.
Okay. So he's on the run. She's on the run from him, and she doesn't trip because it's such an overused cliche that the woman running away trips, and I despise it. You know, whenever you see a woman running away in a movie, she's got like a 500 pace lead on him, and she goes, "Ah, twig," you know, and falls over. You see it in every sort of like woman in jeopardy trait, right? So
Yeah, there's a root grabs her foot that she was nowhere near, and
yeah.
he's face first on the ground.
So what if he gets out a set of bolus and throws it and actually captures her with a set of bolus and a net? You know?
What if, sorry, I want to throw something in.
Okay.
So what if she says, what if she's reached her freaking breaking point of all the crap that's happened to her since she got there, and she snaps and turns around and says, fuck this, and grabs a freaking stick or whatever, a rock, and tries to fight him. And she gets a good hit, but he takes her anyways.
Yeah, I like that. I like that fighting because it goes back to her independent badass behavior.
Yeah. So yeah. So,
I want to interject something. I like what she said, but I want to play off of it to up the stakes. Turns around, they're on this, cliff like this. They run, and she turns around, and it's very, very precarious. And she goes to fight. She gets a good hit in. She slips, and she goes sliding down the side of the mountain, which she gets away for a minute, like a half a minute. He turns back into the hawk form and dives down the side of the mountain.
Hawk, O-R-C. Not hawk. Orc.
Orc.
O-R-C.
Yeah. So
I
like
thought
that.
he was a hawk.
No, orc.
What if Damien rescues her?
No.
Not yet.
We gotta lure Damien out.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
the first. Not
Me.
the first humble, the first. Yeah.
So what if we played off the first orc's horn went off?
Yeah.
And it opened up a gateway. What if this orc blew his horn when she went sliding down the mountain, and the mountain opened up and swallowed her
While she's falling.
while she's falling?
Yeah, and then there's a
Yeah.
there's a fey sort of like gentleman going, "Nice of you to drop in."
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that gives a nasty pun, you know. And yeah, it's our friend the prince. Nice of you to drop in. right?
Well, I want to play off of the fact that she thinks that she's gotten away. At the bottom, as she's sliding, she lays there and she looks up. She thinks she's gotten away, and she's like, "Dude, is he gonna slide down here or what?" Like,
That's when he blows his
and
horn.
she's like,
That's when he blows
Yeah.
his horn, and then the ground opens up and she drops into Faye.
"Yep,
Okay, and it's like
mm-hmm,
this doesn't happen in Queens.
yeah,
You know, and then he's there. And he's
I like it."
So that's gonna go to Patrick with your options. What have you got left, mate?
We did first test.
First stumble.
Did we just first stumble? Okay, so I guess we have C story. The team is forming a second test.
I'm gonna skip C story in this instance because we only have 2 pragmatists. It's not a big team,
Okay.
you know. So let's just skip C story in this instance. I don't think it's relevant at this point. Do you guys? Are you alright, MK? Are you alright?
Sorry, I'm reading.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
So what have we got? If we drop C story, I don't see C story being of any use in this story.
Well,
Yeah, and I'm also seeing that a team is forming is a little muddled.
Yeah, the team is already formed because it's the 2 of them. These are
Yeah.
points that don't fit in this story. You could take it the other way, and the team is forming because the orc, the prince, they formed the team and took her. So it's a bad team is forming.
What about Yusa?
Oh, he's just when she drops into the world and he says it's nice of you to drop in. It's Yuzi who's sort of like in his agate state going, tying her up and everything, and you know, he's basically this guy's Igor now, you know.
Okay.
And then he says, "Go back to your own world and."
Oh, no. Yosef is there, and he says, "Yeah, that's the one."
And
Yeah.
then he goes back to, he gets his vial and he goes, leaves Faye, and he goes back to his drunken state and he's sitting there. That's going to be important later on, I'm sure.
Or he gets turned into something.
Now, I'm thinking if you put
Useful.
I think it's important.
if you put Joseph back in the real world, that's a connection for Damien to go to. You have to put the connection there, it's the foreshadow.
because he'll
Yeah.
smell like Sarah.
Yeah, he's like, I smell her on you. And he actually appears as a full fuck-off dragon, you know, like his eyes as big as Joseph's head, you know, and he's like, I smell her on you.
And you could have Joseph take a huge gulp.
Yeah, a huge gulp, and then he just carries right through his body, and it runs as yellow adrenaline right down his leg because he's looking at the dragon. Yellow.
Okay.
And he's like, the stories are true, the stories are true.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. So, what are you taking, Patrick? Do you want to move
So-
on to Act 6?
Well, I was gonna play off and ask her kind of like a permeable question. We already know the Winter Dragon knows the Summer Dragon because they used to be friends.
Yeah.
The Winter Dragon's trying to break his curse. The Summer Dragon has accepted his fate. What if they teamed up to save the reporter, to save Sarah?
Yeah, and then, okay, so if my section ends with Joseph seeing him,
Mm-hmm.
then he goes and gets the Winter Dragon and a team is formed.
Because they already
I
know
like
each
what
other.
you say, Patrick. I like what you say because in the very beginning we plant a false flag with the Winter Dragon being the villain, and he's not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the false flag
The
I was
victim of
going
his
for.
fate.
That's the false flag I was going for with the woman who was found on the beach with a broken neck. That same false flag, but this is a better place to plant to wave the false flag. Is the best place to
Yeah.
do so.
And then have both of the dragons team up and go, you know, these Fae have been really screwing our lives up. Ever since back when in Ireland, when we got turned, to every time we get a woman, every time we have a chance at happiness, They snatch it out from under us just to play in their games.
The Winter Dragon says, well,
I've got something.
Well, what are you going to do? And he says, Faye's really nice this time of year. And the Bad Dragon...
I have something.
Go on.
MK.
Alex, the bartender, is the Winter Dragon.
Oh, fucking hell, yes.
Yes!
Yes!
That's what I was going to lead to! That's actually in my notes to go to. You stole it! Did you just look at my camera?
If I was outlining this story...
No!
If I was outlining this story right now, if I was actually outlining it, I would say, go to the final act here. This is where everything is set up for the final act. You've covered all the other stuff. The team is formed. All of the other stuff right now isn't necessary to the story. You can use some license and say, this is where we go into Faye. This is the final act. The stakes are at the highest. Right now, we've shown the false flag. That was the C story. Alex was the C story. We just didn't need to say it because now Alex is the C story. Yeah.
Yes, Beatrice.
So, I was just thinking, I like to add fairy godmother characters to things a little bit.
Okay.
So I was thinking, whenever the dragons get there and they demolish everything, pretty much, what if there is a prisoner there who was once the Winter Queen, and that's the reason why they're at war, is because they took the Winter Fae Queen years and years ago, and she cured the Winter Dragon.
That's Act 3. That's Act 3. We don't go into Act
Okay.
3. That would be an Act 3 kind of thing to do, but we leave that open to the people who take this story over if they want to.
Okay.
It's a great ending and I really buy it, but it is an Act 3 kind of thing to happen.
Okay.
So, like, does anyone see anything else in Act 2 that needs to be said at this point?
I would say that the team forming, have, after he realizes what's going on, that Sarah's gone, everything like that, have him, of course, appear to Yosef, and then go human, and then walk into the bar and look at Alex going, we've got to talk.
Yeah, that's...
I have it a little backwards. Yosef comes into the bar. Alex smells Sarah on him and Damien. And he puts a drink in front of Yosef and he says, tell me about the summer court, because he also smells the summer court, Bjorn. And he's like, tell me about the summer court. What deals you doing? And then flash to Damien's loading up the boat, and he goes, been a while, old friend.
Yeah.
We need to talk.
I would go with that under one condition. When he puts the drink down on the bar, he says, tell me about the summer court and why you were there. And Joseph goes, I don't know what you're talking about, starts shaking, and then he just into the Winter Dragon, knocks the bar over. Joseph goes flying off his stool, and then in the bar where the bar used to be, there's now a massive dragon. And he looks down at Joseph and he says, I suggest you tell the truth. You know what I mean? Just, wow.
Yeah. I was thinking he'd flashed his dragon eyes at him.
I was thinking...
Yeah, I think it needs to be more subtle.
When he sets the drink down and says...
Because if this is the only watering hole in town, there's going to be other patrons there that don't need to necessarily know that his little stories over here are true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pat.
I was going to say, when he sets the drink down and says, tell me about the summer court. What deals have you been making? I don't know what you're talking about. He looks at him dead in the eye, looks down at the drink, and throws a little fireball and gives that drink a little heat.
Oh, in fact, he's the Winter Dragon. He's like, do you want that on the rocks?
Dude, ice it.
Do you want that on the rocks? Or do you want it to be a flaming?
Yeah.
Because like the flaming Dr. Pepper, you take a shot of 501, you light it on fire, and you drop it in a glass of cola or something.
I was just thinking one of fire, one of ice, winter and summer.
Yeah.
You know, like he freezes it,
Oh.
and he says, "I can
Yeah, I
arrange
like
to get,
that.
I can arrange to make that flaming unless you tell the truth."
I personally think it needs to be ice because it needs to
Yeah.
be the most and least attention. Because if he all of a sudden does a flaming drink in a place that does just a basic watering hole,
No,
like
Yeah.
this is not your Vegas bar, you
I
know.
know someone who can make that a flaming one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just a
Yeah.
threat. It's like I know somebody that can keep that on fire.
And have it where it just turns into solid ice.
Yeah, I think that he should make that thing a solid ice cube that when Yosef goes to pick it up, it just shatters into broken ice. And he's like, never mind, I'm not thirsty anymore.
He goes like that to knock it back real quick, and he breaks his teeth.
Yeah.
You know,
And the thing is alcohol does not freeze like that.
it does at negative 140 degrees.
Well, exactly. You gotta go cold.
And then at
But,
that point, have Demon walk in because he's connected because of the yin yang of the seasons and the dragons. They kind of know each other already, and so
I don't think he should walk in. I think that they should generally avoid each other. I think that Alex should seek him out on his turf.
Okay.
And
I can
be
go
like, I sniff your girl. I know where your girl is. I sniffed her. You want to talk?
Then
I sniffed her. She's mine.
Then they have that conversation where they've taken out women. They've taken them and they turn them into breeding factories, and they just anytime we've had love in our life, they've taken it away from us.
Exactly.
And he's like, well, what you gonna do about it?
What are we gonna do about it?
No, Faye's real nice this time of year. Yeah, Faye's real nice this time of year.
Yeah.
Or like Faye's real nice this time of year, and have the other one go, it really is nice this time of year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They just
Yeah.
break into Act 3.
No, the summer court's real nice this time of year.
Because this is the day, this is actually the solstice night, this is the time that they are both at their most powerful. You will, only 2 nights a year, you have 2 dragons equally powerful. This is like, they are the ultimate force in Fae on this night.
But I know that we're not going into the third act, but this would prime it really well if 2 dragons were to turn on the summer court right when the winter court has their, which they don't expect the dragons to also turn on them, but they've like gotten ready for a campaign with their dragonborn daughters.
I would go nuts
army.
with the third act. I would have them smash the thing down, and the dragonborn army's there, and he's like, "You're not a dragon until you've had a daughter."
But the thing is this would be such a heart-wrenching thing for Alex. Like, these are his daughters
That's what I mean.
that he's never been able to raise, and he's just like, so I have to kill them? Like, what?
He
Like,
goes to
what?
them,
No.
He's like, "You're not a man until you've had a daughter," and they know straight away he's their father. It's like, it's not Luke, I am your father. They know straight away he is my
There's
father.
a smell. There's a bonding. You're kind of, when it comes to certain animals like that, they have that instinct. This is my mother. This is my father. There's that link, that primal link.
All right, we're accidentally doing the third act, but
there's so much possibilities here, and when I see there are a lot of possibilities for the third act, do you know what I know? I know we've created a good story. So I'd like you all to put your hands out like this and bring them together 10 times fast. Well done, you.
A round of applause.
It's been a great show, and if you have viewed this and you have watched the full 2.5 hour video, 2 and 45 minutes, I would really like to say thank you for having stuck with us in this experiment of the evolution method, because as you can see, the story does evolve. You don't have to use every part. The story is there now. You know, there's no such thing as a pantser. There is no such thing as a plotter. What it does is it gives you the idea where you can stay in the middle, which is where most authors live. I would like to thank my guests, starting with my beautiful co-host MK.
Thank you for having me again, Monty.
Okay. My justifiably fantastic friend Judy.
Thank you.
Okay. My power in name but power in nature when it comes to writing friend, Patrick. Okay. And my belated arrival but brilliant friend, Beatrice. Sorry, I was going to sneeze as I was saying your name. Sorry. Beatrice, thank you so much for coming. I know it was short notice and everything, and I know you turned up. And thanks for this great idea, which contributed to the show. I appreciate you all. If you've liked
It was fun.
Thank you.
thank you. If you've liked what you've seen tonight, don't forget to ring that bell, mash that button. In fact, let me put it like this: don't forget to hit that subscribe button like it's the summer court. Ring that bell like you've just woken up our friend Joseph, and smash that subscribe button like it's the Winter Queen. Thank you very much. It's been a great night. Good night, everybody.